Shout out to the LDBC. Just joking, guys. Just joking. Whatever happened to the LDBC? They like disappeared from the place of the planning. Anyway, guys, on to the video. Shout out to the A-side boxing community. He's a guy who is on the verge of a heavyweight world title shot, and he can do it. I believe he can win. If Deontay Wilder doesn't man up and fight Anthony Joshua, there's Dillian Whyte waiting for him as well. So that is what matchroom promoter Eddie Hearn, Eddie the Hitman Hearn, had to say. As you can see, Deontay Wilder needs to man up and fight Anthony Joshua. Or he could fight Dillian Whyte. So Eddie Hearn is offering Deontay Wilder 2 fights, right? Obviously, he wants him to face AJ for the big unification fight. But as Deontay Wilder puts it, he also wants him to face his spare tire, Dillian Whyte. Okay? Now, as you guys know, I already said, Deontay Wilder is making it a little complicated. I feel that, we haven't heard the counter offer that Deontay Wilder's team is willing to say. So we have to keep waiting. But it's pretty obvious to me that they don't want that $12.5 million because apparently it's peanuts. Peanuts, Like I said, if this fight doesn't happen next for Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua goes on to fight, Alexander Povetkin, as I told you guys, Deontay Wilder is going to be facing Dominic Breazeale, but the only exception I would have for Deontay Wilder not to face Dominic Breazeale is if he fights Dillian Whyte, because I personally believe that Dillian Whyte is a better fighter than Dominic Breazeale. Dominic Breazeale is Frankenstein. The guy has no defense. The guy uses his face to block punches. Every time you see him fight, you see his head is literally doing a 360-degree spin. The guy is always getting hit flush in the face because he has no defense. He's a guy who's 6'7", and he fights like a guy who's 5'10". He doesn't fight like a tall heavyweight. Normally, when you see guys that big, like Dominic Breazeale is 6'7", 6'8", normally they use that to their advantages. They try and fight a tall man's fight. They throw a jab. They try to box, especially if they're fighting a shorter opponent. But Dominic Breazeale doesn't fight that way. I mean, just look at when Dominic Breazeale fought Fred Cassie. All Dominic Breazeale had to do to win that fight convincingly against Fred Cassie was fight a tall man's fight. Throw a jab and make the shorter guy, Fred Cassie, go to you. But instead, Dominic Breazeale crouched over and he tried to fight toe-to-toe with a 5'10" heavyweight like Fred Cassie. And he was doing a bad job on fighting toe-to-toe with a 5'10" Fred Cassie. And he didn't even know how to cut the ring off. I mean, it was embarrassing. I was watching that fight, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. Dominic Breazeale was just... He looked like an amateur. He was an amateur, man. If he fought Deontay Wilder, he will fight the exact way. He'll be coming forward with no defense, and Wilder's going to land that sweet, big, punching right hand right down the pipe, and you're going to see Dominic Breazeale freaking fall on his ass, and it's over. That's easy work for Deontay Wilder. That's easy work. I don't care what anybody says that Dominic Breazeale has heart. He got heart, homie. Dominic Breazeale got heart, but he has no skills, man. I'm being real, yo. He got no skills, man. He got no skills, but Dillian Whyte has more skills. Dillian Whyte got better skills. Dillian Whyte has a better uppercut. Dillian Whyte has he's a better inside fighter. He has better hooks. He has better combinations. He has better defense. He's better in every department than Dominic Breazeale is, okay? Better in every department. But that still doesn't mean that he's going to defeat Deontay Wilder. I personally think that Deontay Wilder will knock out Dillian Whyte. Style-wise, Deontay Wilder is a nightmare for Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is not going to be fighting Lucas Brown if he faces Deontay Wilder. He's going to be fighting a guy in his prime, a guy who's in shape, a guy who's young, a guy who's mobile, and a guy who's quicker than him. Dillian Whyte doesn't do good with guys who move. I personally think that if Joy Joyce, Joy Joyce, the prospect, I personally think that Joy Joyce could give Dillian Whyte a lot of problems. I know that might sound, ridiculous to some boxing fans, or outrageous. How can you say a prospect like Joy Joyce could give Dillian Whyte problems? I think he could give him problems because Joy Joyce is a boxer, right? He's 6'6", 6'5", and he fights tall. He uses his foot as defense, right? He's mobile. I saw a slow-ass Robert Helenius giving Dillian Whyte issues with movement. Dillian Whyte's one of those guys, he doesn't do good when you're moving. Okay, he does good if you're a punching bag sitting next to him with no movement, the way old-ass Lucas Brown was. But if you're a mobile guy like Robert Helenius, you could give him trouble. Robert Helenius lost that fight because he wasn't ambitious enough. He was doing a good job of moving, but he wasn't being offensive enough. And funny enough, when he did actually let his hands go and was attempting to be offensive, he actually managed to hurt Dillian Whyte. I'll never forget when he threw that right hand on Dillian Whyte and he hurt him. The problem was he just wasn't ambitious enough to actually continue to let his hands go. Had he done a combination of, be mobile but also be offensive, I'm telling you, that fight would have been extremely competitive. But he elected to just play the defense, move, and not be offensive enough. He neglected the offense. And because he neglected the offense, he gave that fight away. That fight could have been way more competitive, but Robert Helenius has no ambition. He should retire from boxing. But when it comes to Joy Joyce, he's an ambitious fighter. So that's why I personally think if Joy Joyce were to fight the way he normally fights and move and box, but also use combinations, he could give Dillian Whyte issues. I'm not saying he'll win, but I'm saying he would probably win some rounds, probably several rounds against Dillian Whyte. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm so confident in myself. I'm so confident in myself that, Bomb Squad, Deontay Wilder could beat Dillian Whyte because Deontay Wilder, he has a way longer reach than Dillian Whyte. If he, let's say he decided to box, fight in the back foot, have Dillian Whyte come to him, it's going to be, he's much faster on his feet than Dillian Whyte. It's going to give Dillian Whyte hell. The difference is, though, Deontay Wilder is going to be letting his right hand, he's going to be letting his punch, his power, his combinations go, particularly that right hand, and you're not going to see Dillian Whyte rushing in there. Dillian Whyte is not dumb. He knows that Deontay Wilder is dangerous. He knows this. And trust me, if someone like Robert Helenius can land their right hand on Dillian Whyte and hurt him and have him on Queer Street and have him doing that little Macarena dance, that he was doing on his tippy-toe ass, he looked like he was drunk. Trust me, someone like Deontay Wilder will be able to land because he's much faster than Robert Helenius. He will be able to land on Dillian Whyte and hurt him and rock him, Again, I personally, if it was up to me, guys, I would have Wilder versus Joshua. But again, if these guys, if they don't have a reasonable offer and the fight doesn't happen, we already know what's going to happen. Povetkin versus AJ, and then Deontay Wilder has the option of Brazil or Dillian Whyte. But I have a feeling he'll pick Brazil because it's always, Deontay Wilder always goes the easy route. Facts. Hashtag facts. People don't like when I say that, but the truth hurts. And Deontay Wilder always chooses the easier route, the less risky fight. And to me, Deontay Wilder seems like he doesn't even want to get in the ring with Dillian Whyte. I don't know. I personally think he beats him, but I feel like Deontay Wilder feels that Dillian Whyte's a threat, and that's why he's not too eager to fight him. I mean, he's talking about $7 million. Eddie Hearn is offering $4 million. $4 million is more than you've ever made, Deontay Wilder. I don't understand Deontay Wilder. Like, he'll face Dillian Whyte, but you got to give him $7 million. But the man's biggest purse was $2.4 million against Luis Ortiz, but you could get your biggest purse against Dillian Whyte, $4 million. And then against Anthony Joshua, they're offering him a $12.5 million payday, but that's too little. But his biggest purse was against Luis Ortiz, where he made $2.4 million. Like, it doesn't make sense, Wilder. Anyway, guys, subscribe. And thanks for watching. Much appreciated, as always. Bye-bye.